Hello world, Soul Child back here again. Figured I'd do a quick TNA Sacrifice review before I head off to work. I was originally just going to watch a few matches of it, and then I said, well, if I'm going to get into this whole YouTube thing, I better review the entire show. So I watched from top to bottom and wasted a couple hours of my life. But I'm going to actually make this as a response to Wrestling Jesus, because Wrestling Jesus is basically my hero. And if I could have his accent for one day, I would be very happy. That was my Canadian accent. Anyways, moving on. The opener, Mexican America versus Inc. Inc. It was decent for what it was. I mean, you know, I'm not really a big fan of either team. They teased the Inc. Inc. breakup for a while, and then they got Osama, and all of a sudden they're Team All-America, which I'm not quite sure how that happened, but it had a nice finish. I enjoyed the Dominator type move there. That was all right, but aside from that, completely, you know, nothing really much to say. 2.5 stars. Second match, Kendrick and Robby E. I'm glad Kendrick is getting a push of some sort. I'm not sure if I'm totally sold on this gimmick or not. If you watched before the match, the promo that he put on was incredible. It was one of the better promos I've seen from TNA in a while. It was great stuff, but TNA, it just takes it to a whole nother level. It's just way too much, from wearing the robe in the ring to rocking back and forth in his yoga position after every move. It's just silly, and they just make him silly, and they don't need to, because he's a good worker and he's, you know, good on the mic. So that didn't, you know, it didn't need to happen. Yeah, the match was nothing to write home about. 2.25, I'll give it. Mickie James, Madison, Rayne for Tara's freedom. Though one of the very few positive things I can say about TNA is the knockouts are better than the Divas, ? And I mean, that's not saying much, but at least they do women's wrestling, not right, but better than the WWE, though Awesome Kong coming in, or Karma, whatever she's called, that's been decent, so they're getting better. But the match was nothing. It was for a women's match, I guess it was okay. Madison Rayne has amazing music. Has anyone noticed that? That might be the best music in all of wrestling. That's good stuff. Yeah, there was definitely. I would have much rather seen like an Angelina Love and Winter and Velvet Sky, something correlating with all them, because that storyline I'm really enjoying. Maybe I'm just a fan of zombies, but that's, you know, I quite enjoy that much better than this storyline. I realize this was for the belt, but the match kind of dragged on. It was alright to continue the storyline, but the match was nothing. 2 stars. Next was Kazarian versus Max Buck for the X Division Championship. Match of the night, by far, for me. I enjoyed the line at the beginning of Kazarian that Max Buck couldn't be a star if he was thrown by a ninja. That's great. Yeah, it was what I expected. These two both can go. I'm not a big proprietor of Max Buck being on his own. I mean, they're the Young Bucks. They need to stick together. They're a great tag team. And I really don't think, unlike, for example, like the Hardys, where Jeff was always the star, I don't think either Buck really stands out that they could go on their own and make a name for themselves. They're both they're just better together. And you can't really tell them apart all that much in terms of their moveset and everything like that. But yeah, it was definitely a good match. The Sunset Flip Power Bomb by Kazarian was totally epic, and it had a nice ending. 3.5. Maybe I'm overrating that a bit because everything else was so abysmal, but 3.5. Abyss vs. Crimson, just, you know, god awful. You could see that on Impact anywhere. I'm sorry, I don't buy into either one of these. I don't buy Abyss as a monster anymore after what a joke he has become. You know, he can lose as many teeth as he wants to. He's still a joke. And then Crimson, I don't think he's anything more than another Rob Terry. Quite honestly, he's boring. And, you know, maybe he's got muscles and he can move around a little bit. But if he goes on now and with this whole streak thing, and if he beats Joe, it's just TNA is more of a joke than it already is, which is pretty hard to do. Dull match. It got better as it went along. It was probably the best either one of these can do. And by the end, I was like, alright, this is better than I thought it could be, but I didn't expect much from it. 2 3/4? 2 3/4. Beer Money and Chris Harris. No, Beer Money versus Chris Harris and Matt Hardy. I like bringing Chris Harris in. I thought that was a decent storyline, but they rushed it so much. He was only there 2 weeks. I mean, that's something you kind of have to build up. You know, there was no build up time for that, and it's probably because TNA thought of it last minute. But the match was fine. Beer Money's a great tag team. I mean, they're solid. They could have a decent match with anybody and make it look all right. You know, I'm not a fan of Matt Hardy at all. I'm not a fan of Chris Harris at all, but they made it decent. And my only question is, after that, what do you do with Chris Harris now? Is he just gone? I mean, he basically got destroyed by Storm. So what are you gonna do now? There's nothing for him to do other than be like a low Carter. 2 1/4. Next was Tommy Dreamer, AJ Styles. Good hardcore match. Some nice spots. It was much better than I expected. Tommy can still go. You give him a hardcore match, he can still go, which is nice to see. And of course, AJ's arguably with Angle the best person in the company. So finish I had a problem with because Bubba totally botched it. He barely hit AJ with the chain. The crowd had no idea what was going on. But aside from that, it was a good match. And Tommy Dreamer won on a pay-per-view. When's the last time you could say that happened? That's a long time ago. 3 stars. Angle and Chyna versus the Jarretts, Karen and Jeff. I mean, it's nice to see Chyna, you know, Joni Lauer. It's nice to see her sober and in a ring. That's a good thing. I mean, I'm glad she's gotten her act straight, I suppose. I mean, who knows if she really has, but it's nice to see. The match was nothing to write home about. I loved the match from Lockdown with Angle and Jarrett. I thought that was a great match. It's probably in my top 20 of the year so far. I don't have an exact list on that, but I would imagine it would be. But it should have. The feud needs to end. They dragged it out. This month should have been the blow-off match. They shouldn't just keep prolonging it. I don't think Angle needs to move on to better things, and Jarrett needs to kind of just go away. But they just, you know, let it go on and on. The ending of the match I enjoyed with Jarrett not letting her tap and keeping her arm up. But aside from that, it was boring. 2 3/4. Last was Sting and RVD, which didn't feel like the main event match. It should have been. It felt more like an Impact main event. I mean, this was RVD's chance for the first time in a long time to get his belt back, the belt which he never lost. And instead, it was all so convoluted with Mr. Anderson and all that stuff. It really took away from the match, and it made nobody really care. And both of them really didn't even put on that good of a show. Anderson didn't need to be on commentary. I don't think there should be any special guest commentators in a title match or a world title match at a pay-per-view at the main event. That should never happen. And it took away from the match. And the ending was botched, and it was just completely awful. If you're TNA, you cannot botch the final move of your pay-per-view. Sting went for the Scorpion Death Drop, and RVD just went down. And Sting didn't go down, and he had to pick him up and do it again. And that's just, I mean, it symbolizes what TNA is all about. You know what I mean? They don't care. They really don't care. And the pay-per-view was just pretty terrible. Pretty terrible. The Sting match, I'll give 2 stars. Overall, pay-per-view, 4 out of 10. Don't waste your time watching it. If you want, watch the Kazarian Max Buck match, but aside from that, you really don't need to see anything. There's nothing that's going to be remembered a year from now, a month from now, a day from now. There's really nothing to remember about it. So, that is it for me. I'm going to go to work now and try to wake up. These are the first words I've spoken since I rolled out of bed. I'm going to try to watch King of Trios. I got them the other day, so I have all 3 ready to go. Now I just got to find time to watch them, so I'll try to watch them this weekend and get my reviews up and get some other reviews up. I want to do a Tough Enough video. I want to do some, maybe some movie reviews. I don't know. I hope people tune in and watch this stuff. But anyways, I'm Soul Child. Nice talking to you. Namaste.